So that's kind of an overview of kind of the industry, the prospects, kind of where things are heading. So I'll go into kind of what our priorities are as the Tourism Alliance, kind of what we lobby government on, what we kind of message to them is what they need to be doing. Basically, reduce regulatory burden. That's a really big one. Especially, when I mentioned before that 80% of tourism businesses are SMEs. If you're an SME, you've got very little resource to be able to cope with constantly changing legislation. If you're a big company, you've got a legal department who kind of look at all legislation coming out and send out directives and get everything sorted. If you're just Joe Blogg sitting in your B&B, it's really difficult to keep up with what's going on. In this, I write a book for Visit England called the Pink Booklet. Well, it started out being the Pink Booklet, it's now the Pink Tome, which is legislation on the tourism industry. And I looked at it the other day because I had a question from the Home Office. And I've written the last 3 versions. In 2004, this book was 150 pages long. In 2007, it was 170 pages long. And the version I wrote last year was 220 pages long. And that doesn't include anything to do with kind of tax legislation and very little to do with employment legislations, which are big hunks. So that's kind of pretty much just the legislation that applies to kind of tourism businesses. And if you're a small B&B operator, you've got to know everything from kind of food, if for serving, you've got to all the health and safety aspects. You've got to know, if you pick up your customer from, say, the train station and bring them back, you've got to have a taxi license. If you play videos on TV in your rooms for your guests, you have to have 4 different licenses just to do that. So there are 2 copyright licenses, your TV license, and a movie license. All have to be paid just to show a DVD in the client's room. If you're, say, self-catering and you have a welcome pack, if you put a bottle of wine in the welcome pack with a bunch of flowers, lots of chocolates, you are technically serving alcohol in the same way as a pub is serving alcohol. You have to have a personal license, a premises license, and pay the same amount as the pub down the road for these licenses just to leave a welcome pack for your visitors, which is something that I'm chasing through with the Home Office at the moment. So that's the type of regulatory burden that small businesses face. We had a kind of a working group with the Minister beginning of last, actually no, it's going to the year before now, and we produced a report that was about that long, had 63 different pieces of legislation which were either obsolete or could be amended to significantly help small businesses. So far we've got action on one of those, so after 2 years we're going really well. But it's really difficult to get change in legislation because you get civil servants who would rather kind of things don't change than make a change and things could possibly go wrong. So you've got this kind of corporate inertia that goes on within the civil service. If I make a change, things could go wrong, I could get nailed for it, so I can just sit back and leave it quite alone. Just think, one that I'm trying to do at the moment, one little bit of regulatory burden. If you have any accommodation in the UK, regardless of whether you're kind of the Ritz or you have a yurt, basically, that you hire out in your backyard, if you get a visitor that is not from the UK or from a Commonwealth country, you have to get them to fill in a form with all their details, including passport details. And also, you've got to get their next point of stay in their trip. So you've got to get them to provide details of kind of what accommodation they're using on the next part of their journey. And this kind of goes back to the 1970s, and it was a bit of Cold War legislation that was brought in because everyone thought that there were Russian spies going around the countryside looking at kind of American Air Force bases. And it stayed there, now for 50, almost 50 years. And we're trying to get rid of it. And we've been trying to get rid of it for 5 years now. And it's just one small thing, which would just kind of make life just that little bit easier for people. And it's about to happen, but it's taken kind of 5 years of effort to get it to change. Improving competitiveness, that is hugely important to the industry. Even if you're a small B&B, you have to be internationally competitive. It's no good just being a nice B&B up on the Norfolk coast, because your customer has the opportunity to go to you or to go to the Costas. They can go anywhere in the world they want. So you're not just competing with the other B&B up the road, you're competing with everyone else in the world. We have some real problems with competitiveness. Organisation called the World Economic Forum, based in Switzerland, does a ranking of the competitiveness of every destination in the world, and they come out with a big report, every 2 years. And apart from the slight problem that they're based in Switzerland, and strangely enough, each year when they come out with a report, Switzerland happens to be the most competitive country for tourism in the world, followed by Austria and Germany. But if you put that aside, they show the UK as being 138 out of 140 countries in terms of price competitiveness because of the level of taxation on visitors to the UK. Although the good news is that we're more competitive than Chad, which is good. Improved tourism structures. The present government came in and they got rid of the regional development agencies. And the regional development agencies, some people say they're good, some people say they're bad, but whatever your view of them was, they still put £60 million a year into tourism development and promotion at the local level in the UK. That's gone. So what used to be the destination management organisations are now really struggling to find funding to survive. There are other kind of sources of funding are membership and through local authorities. And local authorities, as you probably know, don't have any statutory responsibility to fund tourism. So as local authorities' budgets are cut, they are looking at where they can save money. They can save money from areas where they don't have a legal responsibility to provide any service. And tourism is one of that they're pulling out. So the DMOs are just left with their membership base, and of course, kind of businesses, some doing well, as you've seen in the presentation, but a lot, are still, struggling, especially in some destinations. So the kind of local and regional structures for tourism are starting to disintegrate. And now we've gone from a situation where we used to have 10 regional tourist boards in England. We now have 72, 75 DMOs, so there's still fragmentation of the delivery at local level rather than kind of consolidation. And so something needs to be done about that. And of course, we're keen on improving the quality skills and the sustainability of the sector, which goes without saying.